I've cut, skid, hauled, and consulted on over 20 million board feet in the last decade. Here are a few of my thoughts for you as a landowner to be aware of before you sell your timber. Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to be diving into the top 10 things that I have seen in the past decade working in the timber industry, just for landowners to be careful of, be aware of as they go into selling their timber. So let's dive right in. First thing is get your timber marked. I've seen this so often that people don't get their timber marked. They have a company come out and they say, hey, we're gonna buy, X amount of trees, or they're doing a DBH cut or a point of cut. And there's not a lot of clarity with that. And so a lot of people get confused when they're trying to compare bids or looking at what is actually being sold. And so I really recommend 90% of the time to get your timber marked and scaled. That way you know which trees are being cut on your property, and that the way there's no confusion between you, the logger, and the mill as to which trees are being harvested. And that leads me into number 2. Always get multiple bids on your timber. Even if it's just 2 or 3, always get multiple offers. When you're only getting one offer on your timber, you do not know if that is a good price or not. Same as you would bid out, a plumbing job or whatever you would do, always get multiple bids on your timber. This is going to allow you to get the current market rate for your timber and ensure that you are for sure getting top dollar. Number 3, have a good contract. It is absolutely essential to have a timber contract when you sell timber. Very few companies are going to try to buy timber without a contract, but it is important to have one regardless. Also, having a contract that is clear and actually is describing what is happening, making sure that you are aware of what is happening inside that contract. Have a third party look it over for you, whatever you need to do. Another sidebar on this is make sure that in that contract you have them state that the contract cannot be assigned. I've got plenty of other videos describing this, you can check them out, but basically what can happen is somebody will buy your timber, get it under contract, and simply flip that timber to the next buyer, making so you don't know who the actual buyer is, what the quality of crew doing the work is, and just eliminates a lot of problems when you make sure that the contract is not being assigned. Number 4, get a tax basis done. I would say probably 80% of the clients that I consult on and have worked with have bought their property in the last 5 years. If that is the case, you 100% should be getting a tax basis done on your property. I just released a video not long ago, just going over what a tax basis is, how it works, all the in-depth about it. I'll leave it up here probably, but check that video out. Basically, a tax basis eliminates the tax liability you're gonna have on your property on the sale of your timber. You're gonna put a whole lot of money in your pocket. Number 5, you are in control of this process. A lot of people that I've worked with in the past, that I've seen, especially when I was just simply a subcontract to the mills, was they didn't really know what was going on. They didn't set the ground rules of how this was gonna happen. They just sort of had somebody show up, tell them what they wanted to do, and they were just like, whatever you think. This is really not a good approach at all. You should and are the one that is in control of this process. It's your property, they're your trees. You need to tell the buyer what you want done on your property. If you don't do this, there's going to be a lot of problems that happen because they are not aligning with your potential goals. And that leads me into number 6. Determine your goals before you get the process started. You should have an objective when going into doing a timber sale. Is your main goal to improve the habitat? Is your main goal to simply get a harvest done because the trees are way over mature, they need to be cut? Are you looking to get some extra income? Are you an investor? There's so many different things that you might be trying to achieve by having a timber harvest done. If you don't know what that is going into it, you're bound to make a lot more mistakes than if you are intentional, decide what you want to do, get done, and actually have a process in place to accomplish your goals. For a timber harvest that you're centering around wildlife habitat improvement is going to look drastically different than if you're managing for long-term timber production. So number 7 is, if at all possible, wait until your timber is actually mature. Now, this is going to vary depending on what your goals are, like we previously mentioned. If you're looking to improve the habitat for hunting and the timber's not quite there yet, but it's a lot of big canopy, you know, a lot of open ground, you still may want to consider a harvest. But if that's not your main objective, I would at all try to keep the timber as mature as possible before you do a harvest. Trees have a similar compounding effect as stalks do, to where as a tree grows in size, there's more board feet in a tree. As they grow in size, they are worth more per board foot. So for instance, a walnut tree, you know, might have 100 feet in it when it's small, and it might be worth $2 a foot, when that same tree 10, 15 years later might have 300 feet and might be worth $6 per board foot. And so you can see how that compounding effect happens as they mature. Number 9 is be careful with potentially logging your property if you're also thinking about selling your property. I've bought and sold quite a bit of land and watched the real estate market, specifically here in Ohio, quite a bit in the Midwest. When somebody comes in and you know, it's oftentimes an investor will go out and they'll harvest a woods really hard and then try and sell that property. Properties just do not sell well. You end up actually shooting yourself in the foot because you're gonna sell the property for far less than if you would have kept the timber on it. Keeping timber on a property when you're ready to sell is a huge asset and is going to make that property far more marketable, far more desirable, and will make a lot more sense to keep the timber on it if you're looking to sell the property in the next couple of years. If you're looking at 5, 10 years out, then yes, it does make sense to do a harvest, especially if it's going to be a long-term hold. That's something that makes a ton of sense. But a short-term hold or a property you plan to sell in the near future, I would hold off on doing a harvest. Last but not least, number 10. Work with a consulting forester. In some parts of the country, you know, a consulting forester may or may not be able to do a timber sale for you, but here in Ohio, it's pretty common practice to work through a consulting forester. This is a third party that is going to be working on your behalf to sell the timber. Think about, you know, a real estate agent for timber. They know what the market is, what that timber should be bringing. They know the best buyers in your local area to be working with. They're going to determine what your goals are. They're going to balance that with, you know, long-term woods health. There's so many aspects of working with a timber consulting forester that has its upside. I've seen back in the day when I was buying timber for myself and for another company that consistently sellers that worked through a consulting forester got more money for their timber. I even know, you know, companies that just don't even, you know, put in bids because they know they can't compete with what these consulting forester jobs are bringing. So do your due diligence. You know, if it doesn't work in your area, that's one thing, but if it is something that's common practice in your area, working with a consulting forester is definitely worth what they charge. I myself am a consulting forester, so if you're in Ohio, I work most parts of Ohio except for the southwest corner I don't, but if you're anywhere in Ohio, reach out to me. You can reach me at my website, treestandforestry.com, fill out the contact me form, and I will be in touch with you. See you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good one.